Hi, working on a much slower speed now. I've introduced the various diagrams and charts you need to know. So now I'm on 7.1, page 87, pictograms, bar charts, pie charts. This is question 2 on page 87, involving ice cream. It says the pictogram shows the number of ice creams sold over a 5-day period. Here we go, Monday to Friday. Please note that this diagram of a lovely looking cone represents 4 individual ice creams. Okay, so with that in mind, let's just jump straight into the question. Monday, how many sold on Monday? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that'd be 5 lots of each diagram, 4, 20. How many was sold on the Friday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the moment, 5 lots of 4, which is 20. We've got this little bit here. Just change colour to highlight it. We've got that little part, which, if you look very carefully, is representing 3/4 of a diagram. Alright, if it's 3/4 of that, then 3/4 of 4 is clearly 3 ice creams. Alright, so that corresponds to 3 ice creams. So we can have 20 plus the 3 would come to 23 sold on the Friday. Part C, I'll do it over here, loads of space. On what day were most ice creams sold? Let's ask this about the mode. Which day was the mode? So let's have a look. Tuesday, clearly. We don't have to work out the total, doesn't ask us, but just visually looking at that, Tuesday was the best day for the selling of ice cream. Therefore, Tuesday. The most common day on which ice cream was sold was Tuesday. Alright, next question. Right, I've got 3 things to do here. The table shows the sales of fruit juices: orange, apple, cranberry, blackcurrant, and some other random flavour they were not specifying. I've got to represent this information as a pictogram, as a bar chart, and a pie chart. Now you may see in the background this lovely picture of Longleat Forest. There is a grid there. Well, that's for the next page, so we'll save that for then. And the next page is totally sort of grey graph paper. I'm going to try my best to do a half decent bar chart, but I certainly could do a pictogram for you. Now, we're staying with the yellow. I'm going to go for a pictogram, which is that one there, and I've got to represent 1 up to 18. Now, it seems sensible to have a little diagram of a random fruit. So here's my little key now for part A1. My key is going to be, this represents 1 fruit, okay? Sorry, that represents 2 fruit. You don't draw a different diagram for each type of fruit. So for example, don't draw an orange that looks like an orange, and an apple that looks like an apple, and a cranberry or blackcurrant that looks like themselves. It's going to be very messy, and it's not what it's about. It's about having a diagram that represents a certain number greater than 1, which you can use to represent this in a visual form. So with that in mind, I'm now going to go for my pictogram. So I've got oranges to do, I've got apples to do, I've got cranberries, I've got blackcurrant, I've got something else, they call that other. Right, so let's just do that. Could have a line there, don't have to. And here we go. So if that represents 2, then to represent 18 oranges, I need 9 of those. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I did say I put that little squiggle on it. Looks like a stalk. So I'll put it on. But that's not getting any marks, is it? Just try and make it look like a random fruit. Right, apple. 8 apples. Well, 8 divided by 2. So I must have 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't matter that the circle's not perfect. You're clearly trying to show that that's worth 2 in the same way that's worth 2. Cranberry is 3. So I'm going to go for 1, 2, and 3. That's meant to represent half of a whole one. It's got to be clear, alright? So that's 2, and that's 3. Because it's half of a 2. Blackcurrant is 6, so I require 2, 4, 6, 3 little bits of fruit. And the other is 1, in other words, half of 2, make it like a semicircle, finish it off, and it's got to look half decent to get the mark. Alright, pie chart. Right, well I'm going to show you how to work out the angles right now. Might need to go over a couple of pages though, avoiding the grid. Right, starting here. I have to go back to my book. Right, pie chart, pie chart, pie chart. Right, I've got 18 oranges. So I'm looking on page 88, that's where the data is. So I've got oranges. I've got 18. I've got apples. I've got 8 of those. I've got cranberries. Cran for short. 3. I've got black currants. Black for short. And 6 of those. And I've got some other fruit. And I've got 1 of those. Now, in order to get a pie chart, if you remember from the first demo, I need to work out the total amount of fruit that I've got. So I've got 18 plus 8, 26, 36. Alright, so I've got 36 in total, and now I must work out the angle for each one. If I work up here, for oranges I've got 18 out of 36. It's that fraction of 360. Well, I can tell that's a half of 360. That's going to be 180 degrees on my pie chart. Apples, it's going to be 8 over 36 times 360. I can't see that very clearly, so I'm going to grab my machine and go 8 divided by 36 multiplied by 360. I've just found a great method. Listen, I'll tell you about it. Cranberries, 3 over 36 times 360. Look, 36 goes into 360 10 times. So I could have just have done that, you see. Now I can say 3 times 10, 30 degrees. Lovely. Next one, blackcurrant, 6 over 36 times 360. Look, goes in 10 times. 6 times 10, 60 degrees for the blackcurrant. And the last one, 1 over 36 times 360. Chop it up again. 1 times 10 is 10 degrees. And all that's left for me to do is to produce a pie chart with those degrees. Now I'm told reliably in an examination you'll be given one of these. It's called a circle. I should be using my software to do this, but anyway, just showing how good I'm doing freehand. And you'll be given the midpoint and a radius, and then you start to snap on your angles one at a time. So you do a 180 straight down. I'm not very good at this, am I? Then you do an 80 carrying on from the radius, so that'll be about 80. You do a 30, which is quite a thin slice really. Then you're going to get a 60 and a 10. So when you come to do the labelling, don't put the degrees in there, put the actual fruit that we're talking about. So that'll be orange, 180 degrees. That'll be apple. Next one will be cranberries. That's 80 degrees meant to be, no, 30 degrees. So that's going to be cranberry. The next one's going to be blackcurrant, 60 degrees. And finally, we've got other. Can't quite do that, can I? It's a bit difficult. Let's rub that out. So other. Finish that off a little bit. O-T-H-E-R. There you go, other. Of course, this is very inaccurate, but you've got to be as accurate as you can. At least you'll be given the circle and one radius to be getting along with, and that should be fine for you. Alright, now let me just try this next dodgy little part here, which is going to be the blank grid. Now the blank grid requires me to do a bar chart. Lovely. Well, the maximum frequency I've got is an 18 right there. Where's it on my pen? 18 there. So I can go from 0 to 18. There's no point trying to economise because the other is only one part of the bar tool. So I'm going to go from 0 to 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. Let me try and construct that semi-skillfully. Right. Which one is it now? I think I'll go for that one. Just to draw a line. So I'm not sure where to start. If I start there and take it up, I can obviously write about what I don't want anyway, can't I? So that's that. And I'm going to come along here with my fruit. So stick it across there somewhere and let go. Again, I can get rid of the excess. back to my pen. So 2, let's go back to black, it's easier, isn't it? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So let's just label it nicely. Nice to count backwards, nice and challenging. 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 0 across there. Now it's a bar chart, so I don't want any numbers along there. I just want 6 little bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 5 little bars. So we'll have orange in that little zone there. Leave a nice little space. Then we're going to have apple in there. Leave a space. Then we're going to have our cranberries. Leave a space. Then we're going to have our blackcurrant. Leave a space. Then we'll have our others. So let me just label it. O for orange. Then we're going to have A for apple. Then we're going to have C for cranberry. Then we're going to have B for blackcurrants, and I'm going to put other there so I don't get confused with the orange. Alright, so now I've got to try and do some nice little bars. Let's change colour so it stands out nicely. And apparently I need to get this one here. So I have got 18 oranges. Let's see if I can do this carefully. 18 oranges, takes me all the way to there, and spread it out. There you go, 18 oranges. I'm happy with that one. Next one is 8 apples, so starting from there, draw my line up, stretch it across. Of course you can't do this in the exam, you just do it if you can. That shouldn't be there. I'll get rid of that in a minute. Cranberries is 3. That'll teach me to take my pen off, wouldn't it? So I'm going to go for that. It's about 3, isn't it? Oh, bang on there. Blackcurrant is 6. So 6 is going to be there. Using my graph paper ever so skillfully. Try not to move my pen. That's that. And the others was just 1. So starting from there, drag it up and fix it there. I did say I'll try and rub this out, so let's see if I can do that. Lovely, doesn't work. Never mind. What about... Nope, I'm going to leave that alone. Anyway, I've got to learn to use my software properly. Anyway, there it goes. I've got to label the sides, and that's called frequency. And these are the fruits, and that's about it. It's my first go at doing a graph, so you can forgive me, it's not brilliant. I'm not sure how to rub out that little blob there. The rubber doesn't seem to want to do it, so I'll find out how to do that and deal with that later. In the meantime, that's it. That's a very simple bar chart. I'll label it as such because I've got time on my clock. And that's how it's done. Alright. Please note my spacing is the same, so that spacing matches that, that matches that, matches that. Also, very importantly, you don't want the bars to touch, because there is no link between the number of oranges, the number of apples, the number of cranberries, etc. Alright? It's not as though we're dealing with continuous data whereby the bars have to touch. We're talking about independent frequencies for each fruit, therefore there's no touching involved. It's not a histogram, it is a plain old bar chart, and that's all that's required. Okay, so I sign off.